Everybody okay? More or less? More or less? More or less is good enough, you know. Don't need to be totally perfect. So the next contemplation or reflection that we'll do is on appreciating our present situation, which, as I said, has the danger that we go into guilt sometimes, that because, you know, when we see all the opportunities that we have and how sometimes we totally waste our time, then it can go into guilt. So, but it is actually to develop a mind state which is called gratitude, which is a beautiful mind state, but unfortunately our tendencies are that we always go to the negative things instead of going to the positive things. But I think I can really tell you it changes with times, especially if you start to practice, because that's what strikes me most in people who have been practicing for quite a while, is when something negative happens in their life, they always see the good sides first. Not everybody, but actually most of them. Whereas if I hear some other people, they only seem to see the problems, which then of course becomes very difficult. So the way that this is done, it's not that, you know, it sounds almost the same, so you have to be careful. It's not that somebody says, but look, you have this, and this, so be grateful, because that doesn't work. So you have to imagine situations as if, you know, as if you don't have it, how it would be if you would not have it. Then it works. And I think our mind works a bit that way because, unfortunately, we only start to appreciate things once they're finished, really, to really appreciate them. While they're here, we take them for granted, and we don't realize that they're impermanent, and they are impermanent, and they can disappear. Yeah. So this is what we're going to do. The official kind of one is called the 8 Freedoms and the 10 Richnesses. But I will not go one by one. Just also, it's very good because Buddhism is kind of a vehicle. It's not so much devotion and belief and all this study, yes, but just, you know, believe. The Buddha says, oh, it is like this. But the Buddha really encourages us to say, what do you think? You know, to really look at what we make of it, and to see if this has some value in it for you. And then, of course, the Buddha gave many teachings. So we have to know to whom he gave those teachings, or what he wanted to say with these teachings. Because in relative truth, there is nothing that is true. It is just relatively true. And I think also with conflict, especially with the kids, I have this PowerPoint I showed them. I have this picture where there is a 6. I mean a 6, not even a 6. It's a figure like this. It's kind of lying on the floor. And here's somebody standing and somebody standing here. So that one says 9 and that one says 6. So then can you picture it? You might have seen the image. And so I asked them who is right. And everybody says both. But if both are right, then we have a conflict. If we can see that neither of them is really totally right, then there is no conflict. And I think this is what is happening in the world also. Even though we have a dialogue with somebody, but we go into this dialogue already kind of being totally convinced that the other one is wrong and I am right. If we can go into a dialogue by thinking nobody is totally right, that might be helpful, to listen to what the other person really has to say, instead of just having to kind of bring my own point home. So when we, in the House of Religions, sometimes we have these panel talks, like, you know, these talk shows, like they also have on TV, and the people who come and participate, one of the very common comments is that, wow, that was so nice, you didn't fight with each other. We're trying to support each other in a way, but we also say when then it's in my tradition, or it's different. But it doesn't mean that the other one who has totally different opinion is wrong. So it seems to be quite nice and quite relaxing for the people when there's not this going on, when we have 4 or 5 different kind of religions there discussing about certain things with each other. Okay, so we start each reflection, we start with the short moment of just coming into the body and to train this what is called basic awareness, which we don't have, because we are. I'm saying we because I can also say I. I don't know how you are doing, but me, definitely constantly lost in thought, and then we're not in touch with this. But if we want to have also physical well-being, mental well-being, I mean, it's really important that we are connected to the body, because now also the scientists say that, or the doctors or neuroscientists, that if what they call neurobiologists. I think those one who study the brain and the body and all these kind of things. They say if the mind is constantly not here, then the nervous system goes crazy, starts to rebel. I see some people not. Is it because you have crazy nervous systems or because you have heard it?
I've heard about other people. That's sometimes
about other people's nervous systems, and we can see how that works, because we do it instantly. In Buddhism they say that the nature of your mind is clear, and if you are natural, if you are in that nature, you'll be happy. Okay, but we kind of have many layers, and I totally believe that, because if you see already small children, when they're not well, they have some kind of antidotes, strategies, what they do when they're not well. The strategies are not always helpful or not very skillful,
Television.
Whatever it is, doesn't matter. Not just the kids, also our strategies sometimes not so skillful.
Beer.
But
Beer.
That's actually quite a good strategy if it's only one, because it makes you relaxed. Again, if you apply the strategy for long-term kind of goal, then whatever strategy it is, it's actually quite okay. If you don't make it a habit, then it's just that, and you just keep doing it and doing it and doing it, but you have no goal why you're doing it anymore. Just you do the strategy just for the sake of the strategy, then it becomes a bit unskillful. But the fact that already small kids do that is, for me, a clear indication that our nature is to be well. Nobody has a strategy to feel bad, although we think that our nature is being bad and nasty and all this. So one of the strategies, of course, which is very good, is to come back to your breath. The nicest strategy I've ever heard, and it shows you the power of listening, is that maybe a 10-year-old, he said, when I'm not well, I talk to my guinea pig because he listens to me without interrupting me. The wisdom of a 10-year-old, seeing the power of being able to express what's going on without anybody judging you, without not losing their love for you. It's not going to be on Facebook next day. For the young kids, this is why they're afraid to open up, because it's going to be on the Facebook next day if they tell about their problems or their weaknesses or whatever. So I thought, wow, that's a very good strategy. Sometimes kids also, sometimes I just breathe. One said, I said, wow, great. Small children. So we would have this natural kind of state of well-being, but it's not that we lost it. We never had it, okay? We never had this constant, spontaneous, effortless state of well-being, but that would be our nature. So this is why we practice. This is why we do these things. Okay, so we do this, so I said before every reflection, you do whatever, I guess everybody has some kind of meditation technique. Meditation, again, the word meditation just means gom in Tibetan, meaning making the mind familiar with something. Like here it is, if it's basic awareness, you train the mind to be here. So that's one type of meditation. Another one is when I start talking, and I hope it's not disturbing you too much, but it's on purpose. Because if we just do silent meditation, then it's nice to have somebody sitting in front of you, but you can also have like an automatic bell going ping after 20 minutes or something like that. Although I do prefer just not to say something also, especially if it's like this basic awareness, like if it's the meditation group in Bern, we do the preliminary practices, the prayers, and then that's it. Then I don't say anything anymore, because what I noticed in me also, when somebody leads the meditation, I'm not really doing anything. I'm just waiting for the person to say something, and then I do it, and then again I go somewhere else, and then the voice comes, and then again I'm here. So so that muscle of being able to bring the mind back yourself will not really develop. Yeah, it's very pleasant when somebody leads, because then you thought you had a good meditation because you're present all the time, especially if the person talks all the time. But it's justified in certain moments, like what is today, what we do, but it's also at some other moments it is better not. Yeah, so if it's disturbing your peace of mind when I talk, well, I'm not really sorry about it, because that's what I'm supposed to do, and that's what I'll do. So try to see your resistance and try to relax and say, okay, at least she's not hitting me. Well, this is how you do. This is how you use skillful thoughts in order to calm you down. This is what I say. When you start to practice regularly, these skillful thoughts, they come in order for you to calm down. Yeah. So, and if I do hit you, then at least you can go, at least you didn't injure me. And if I injure you, then you go, at least you didn't kill me. And if I kill you, then you go, at least you cannot throw me into the lower states, because this is my anger and my aversion doing that. So very skillful, these thoughts. But it doesn't mean you say, okay, then come and hit me. Yeah, so I can practice. Again, you need to have, for these kind of things, because it is not a devotional kind of black and white vehicle, you need to have a lot of wisdom, and you need to have instructions, and then to see how to apply these instructions. That's the thing. This is where the group comes in, where you can, you go and you think, oh, I had such a big realization, and all of a sudden somebody goes, to kind of bind you back a little bit. Okay, so we do that maybe 10 minutes, just silent, connecting to the body, coming into the body again. Take your posture, try to sit as comfortable as possible with a straight back. And another good way just to be present and to be relaxed present is when you imagine breathing with your whole body. You can try different methods. And then when you found yours, then it's good. And also if you do quite a lot of silent meditation and you think you are not making enough progress, and maybe your object is too subtle also, because the whole body is a very, very good object. Just body is sitting, just until your mind is stably knowing that the body is sitting. It's a very good object, because it's much more solid than the breath. Yeah. So try it out in order to find what is helpful for you. Then another thing which is very helpful is to check your motivation so that it doesn't become totally meaningless while we're sitting. Again, for you to find out, why am I doing this? Why am I here today? So being curious about it, that is already very good, because then at least you're open. If it's for leading a happier life, because that would be our potential or our nature, that's also good, but it's quite small in a way. Again, only concerned about myself. So since this is a day about death, we can maybe think, before I die, as much as possible, may I be of benefit to others? May I be able to understand the mind, because the moment I really know my own mind, I know the whole universe. But I'm not doing this just for myself. I'm doing this for my family, my friends, my colleagues, and everybody that I will meet. So in order to, instead of harming them, I'll be able to be of benefit to them. To create more peace, more happiness, more well-being, more trust in their minds. And then, of course, the more Buddhist goals would be, I'm doing this because I want to recognize what are the causes for preventing me to be happy, like what are the causes for dukkha or suffering. And I want to rid myself of being under the control of these negative emotions, which are the causes for all the suffering, in order not to be reborn again and again and again in an uncontrolled way. That would be one of the Buddhist goals. And another Buddhist goal is, yes, I want to what is called escape samsara. I want to be free from this uncontrolled rebirth, but I want to come back again and again and again as a fully developed Buddha in order to lead all others to that state as well. So when we have a motivation, which doesn't mean that it has to happen now, because then it becomes attachment and desire. But when we know where we want to go, then our strategies start to make sense, whatever it is, because it is in order to fulfill that goal. And if we keep that goal in our mind all the time, all of a sudden we are able to let go of unhealthy or unhelpful strategies. Because we see that it doesn't get me closer to that goal, it actually gets me further away from it. And that's not a seeing through intelligence, that is a seeing through understanding in a deeper way. That's why it's so important to ask ourselves again and again and again and again, what do I really want? Why am I doing this? So if we know what we want, then the next question is, well, do I have whatever I need in order to get it? So here it would be, I want to prepare for death. So I die peacefully, have another good rebirth, or even in the death process, understand the nature of my mind and be liberated immediately in order to benefit other sentient beings. For that I need to study the Dharma, I need to study the mind, I need to study the causes and how to get rid of the causes for suffering. In order to be able to do that, I need to have what is called the precious human rebirth, where we have the freedoms and the opportunities in order to be able to study the Dharma or these methods, to be able to put them into practice. But in order to really appreciate the situation, we have to imagine how it would be not to have it. So imagine how it would be if you would have a body that is filled with excruciating pain. An existence like that. In Buddhist terms, that would be a hell state. But we don't have to go there, just human is enough. Body filled with pain. Maybe you know somebody who has a body like this. Can they sit? Can they meditate? Can they study? Or remember moments where you were filled with pain. Where was your mind? The only thing it is interested in is getting rid of that pain now. So then you look at your present situation. Not tomorrow, not this evening, right now. I can sit, I can breathe. Might be some pain in the body, but it's not too bad. So we appreciate. And again, appreciate not in the head, but in the heart. How does it feel? Gratitude, appreciation. Is it narrow? Is it wide? Is it hot? Is it cold? Explore it. Experience it. Another situation could be where we don't have enough to eat, not enough to drink. Buddhist terms, they call this a hungry ghost state. Could be one of the rebirth, one of the places where one is reborn in. But even though just in this life, with this coronavirus, nothing to buy anymore in the shops, no replies coming, would we be interested in sitting and meditating? It looks like it. It looks right now, oh yeah, then I will have time. Remember moments when you were very thirsty and very hungry. Your mind is on getting food and drink to fulfill these basic necessities that we have. It's not on how to develop compassion and wisdom, unless you're very realized. So how is the situation at the moment? It's still okay. We don't know for how long, because all of this, until now it was just theory. Now it starts to become a bit more real. Things lacking in the shelves. What does it produce in us? Fear of the future or appreciation for the present? So what we're trying to produce here is not fear of the future, but appreciation for the present, so that we use the present time really well. There's another state that we don't want, is when we are too well. It's called long living gods, where they're just absorbed in their jhanas, in their absorptions, basically. That they don't feel their body. The mind is in constant bliss, but all they're craving for is more bliss, because they're still in samsara. So Switzerland, before the coronavirus, was a place like this a bit. No need to practice. No need to sit down and develop a good heart. Everything is well. I'm happy, I'm content. Not being aware that this state can end with our own death or with the outside situations. So that can also be a hindrance for your practice. So when things like this happen, like at the moment, all of a sudden we become aware of our priorities. What is really important? To have all the comfort, or to have a stable, open heart. So it might sound a bit strange, but we are actually quite happy that the situation is not too good. Or you could have a mind state or some attitudes that, if I'm comfortable, that's good enough. And then it's especially like body comfort. Animals are like this. They're quite happy when they have enough to drink, enough to eat, not too hot, not too cold. When they can have sex, when there's the time to have sex. Not interested in anything else. So in general, people who come to these places, they are free from that attitude. That physical comfort is enough. So we're just happy about this without judging anybody else who has that attitude. So again, if we look at the present situation, we could maybe not have the freedom to go wherever we want to go, like to a country where the Dalai Lama is teaching, or where there's a retreat that we wanted to do. How would that feel? Maybe at one point you're not even allowed to go to the group anymore. All public gatherings are prohibited. So again, does it produce fear of the future, or does it produce appreciation that you can still go to your group? Because if we want to practice, we need to have a happy mind. And a happy mind can be produced through, for example, gratitude. So these are basically the things that we need to be free from. Then there's certain things we need to have in order to be able to walk on that path to liberation and full awakening. We need to be born a human with human capacities so that we can understand. If we would have been born an animal, even if we would come to all the classes, we wouldn't understand. So don't think that Buddhism is saying animals are bad. If your mind is really negative, then it's better to be an animal because you do less damage. But if your mind is positive and set on developing love, compassion and wisdom, it's much better to be a human. So we appreciate. We also need to have an attitude or a mind who is not too attracted by creating negativities or criminal acts. There seems to be beings who have this kind of habit, tendency, are even proud of it. Conflict with others, battling with others, hurting, killing them, seems to make them very happy. It's their strategy to be happy, to escape their pain. So just be happy when you don't have that attitude. And try not to hate and judge the others. It's difficult, I know. Seems that so many beings are attracted to violence, aggression, think it's something great, even post it on social media, being very proud about it. Another thing that is really needed, and without that we wouldn't get very far, is having trust in your own potential to have universal love, compassion and wisdom. That it is possible to have a mind state where effortlessly, uninterruptedly, your heart is open towards all sentient beings, and you have the skills to be able to be of benefit to them. Do you have trust in that potential? That's our nature. We are by nature good people. Everybody who has a mind. Do we trust that? Could be that we don't trust it because we don't feel it. Then we need to have trust in the Buddhist teachings, who is telling us that everybody has such a nature. And not just blind believe in that saying that everybody has Buddha nature, but trust in the methods, which sometimes can be boring, painful, uninteresting. Do we have trust that those work? In order to develop that trust, we have to try it out. It's not blind trust. It's trust that should come from reflection, experience, common sense. then we need to have people around us who are practicing with us, because doing this alone can be very confusing, and we won't get very far because we're not inspired. So we need people like the Dalai Lama, other teachers from other traditions who, with their very good example, show us that it's possible to develop these qualities. There's not so many of these beings around anymore. But we are very happy that we can still have contact to some of them. So when all these conditions, and there's a few more, but it's okay, when all these conditions come together, then we talk about precious human rebirth, especially if you use it in order to develop your mind. So it's not a coincidence that we have these causes and conditions in order to be able to practice. It comes from our previous actions, most probably from a previous life, where we practice pure morality, generosity and patience, and making the right aspirations to meet the Dharma again. So again, check your heart. How do you feel now? Do we feel privileged? But not privileged with guilt, but privileged, wow, my situation is so fantastic, let me do something with this, something meaningful. Something that doesn't just benefit me, but something that benefits as many other beings as well. Even if it's just indirect benefit by not judging them, not hating them, not being angry at them, not being too self-concerned. That benefits a lot of people. So at the beginning of this, we kind of looked at our motivation. At the end of the reflections, when General does a dedication, kind of directing the good energy that one creates with these activities to a certain goal. And then that keeps us on track, but in a kind of natural way, not in a contrived way, not in a way, oh, this is my duty. There's no joy in there. So maybe we can dedicate in a way that we know that this life will finish. The preciousness of it might finish even before we die, when the conditions around us disappear. But for the moment, we have a precious human rebirth. So we could dedicate that, may I always use these perfect conditions, perfect situations for practicing the Dharma, in order to develop my mind further and further and further to the goal of full Buddhahood. But then again, you can make your own dedication. And the dedication can be just words, or you can feel it in your heart. Okay. Thank you. This meditation on precious human rebirth, once you're used to it, it's a very good antidote for depression. And you can really, you don't need to go through all these points. We usually call it PHR, like kind of when you feel in the morning, you go like, whoa, I have to get up, I have to go to work. Then you just go, hey, PHR. And when you're used to it, when you have to do it many, many times. This is what I'm saying, until you feel it in your heart that you go like, I'm so fortunate. Like hardly believe that you're so fortunate. When you think about bodhicitta, how many people have this mind of, I don't have the mind of bodhicitta, but how many people are interested in this mind of bodhicitta? Then I always think about one verse in Shantideva's Bodhicharyavatara, where it says, just like a blind man in a heap of garbage has found a diamond, to an idiot like me, this interest in bodhicitta has come. When I see what I was interested in before, it is like a blind mind, like a blind man finding a diamond. How much is the chance that the blind man finds a diamond in a garbage heap? Not very much. That to somebody like me who's so self-concerned that all of a sudden I go like, wow, bodhicitta could be done. Ooh, it's like really, really rare and very, very fortunate. Now, I'm not saying I have bodhicitta, it's just that I think it's very inspiring to have, and I think it's a good thing to have. Yeah, bodhicitta is this mind who wants to attain full awakening for the benefit of full sentient beings. Okay, so now is lunchtime. I've gone half an hour over because we had like this at the beginning, a good excuse, which I might have gone over anyway. Do you have questions or are you okay? As I say, it's pretty simple, this whole thing, isn't it? So, and for the precious human rebirth, you can make your own situations where it could be different. Yeah. So then we start to take life not as just as granted anymore, but really, really enjoy it. It's a very powerful meditation. It's very, very powerful. I see you're all exploding with joy. Fantastic! Whoa, it worked!
I have one question, but not about the precious human rebirth, but more before when we were focusing on the body and all the sensations. And a question came to my mind, how do you differentiate what you physically feel in your body from an emotion? Because emotion is also inside the body.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that several times before.
Mm-hmm. Christian, when I eat, how do you know that I've eaten enough?
Physical sensation.
You, that I've eaten enough.
Me.
Yeah.
You. Maybe I see something like a sign from you not eating anymore, or.
Yeah. No, what I'm trying to say is you're the only one who can find out. Nobody can tell you how to differentiate what is body. But with the pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral feelings, they say like some come from the body, some come from the mind. But you all feel them in the body.
So it's really experience, you would say?
I would say it's chemicals.
Chest tightness, for example.
If you look at science and neurobiology, it's chemicals. Isn't it? But definitely influenced by the mind. But when we look at the mind, studying the mind or meditating on the mind, maybe you just saw, the first thing we see is like, what is all this? It's like, it's so difficult to take this apart. Yeah? When you really go down, if you're up in the head, then you go, oh, what is what? But if you really are with the whole experience that goes to so much, like every second, yeah. So then they say, I don't know, I still have so much every second. They say like if you continue with shamatha, like with what's it called? Mental quietude, geistige Ruhestellung auf Deutsch. Then you start to see the different things. Whereas now it's like a waterfall, like you can't see the different drops in the waterfall. It just whoosh like that. Then with time, your mind becomes like a little stream where it's also very agitated. Then it becomes like a bigger river. Then it becomes like, then the river goes into the ocean, and at the end it becomes like the rock in the ocean. So it's step by step. Yeah, and it comes through awareness. It comes by seeing. It comes by experiencing. The same way, you know, I've eaten enough. I'm the only one who can experience it. Me. I cannot ask somebody else, do you think I have eaten enough? So it's nobody can tell you that really when is what. It is experience, and experience comes through practice. Unfortunately, it doesn't come from studying a book. But studying a book is good. So it's a bit like, I think it's Venerable Robina who gave that example at one point, which I found very good. It's when you study botany. You have the book, and you see all the plants, you know, one by one with the root. Then you go out into nature. Or mushrooms is another good one. You know, in the book, the mushroom looks like this. How many of you have been gathering mushrooms? Do you still do that? Yeah, okay. Then you go out. Is it as clear out in nature as it's in the book? No. Not at all. And then you see how difficult it is. Yeah. So studying is okay. See that this mental factor, this. And with time, you start at least to recognize what is, you know, is it open? Is it closed? Is it self-concerned? Is it for others also? I think at the beginning one starts to see what a hypocrite I am. You know, thinking I'm a good person, but then seeing total ball of self-concern, which is okay. And I think this is what is important for you to know. It's okay to see how self-concerned we are, because then something will change. But if you put it aside, and you don't want to see it because it makes you feel bad, then nothing can transform. So it's just a matter of seeing, actually. Does that help a little bit? Yeah. Yeah. Just continue to come. When is meditation? Monday. Until you have a practice that you really sit down every day, no matter what. Then maybe you don't need the group anymore, but then the group needs you. Then you can give something back. And this is, I think it's really shame, you know, that people come and then they get whatever they need and they say, okay, now I have what I need, goodbye. Never forget, you can give something to the group. Don't underestimate the energy that you are giving off when you sit. Don't underestimate that. And also just being present, then this whole thing kind of continues. If nobody comes, then new people cannot meet it. So you have a responsibility towards the next generation. Yeah. And also the group itself gives you a lot of strength and a lot of inspiration, I think. You know. I mean, I do have my daily practice, that's true, but then that I would do that 2 hours in the morning and then rest of the day, that's it. So I'm glad I still have to do these things because it's good for me. Yeah. See, knowing in the head doesn't change much, but talking about it and thinking about it again and again and again and again and again, and all of a sudden, and you won't notice it. Like, it's not like, boom. Yeah. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's like, you know, wow, oh yeah, this is how it is. Yeah. Sometimes it's just gradual and you don't even notice it until maybe somebody says, oh, wow, you changed so much. What are you doing? Yeah. Okay. So please enjoy your lunch. Shall we make an hour and a half or an hour and a quarter or an hour, or it's totally up to you? Huh? Yeah, I think an hour is okay. If you're not going too far, somebody has to go very far? No? You live next door or something, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. So. And the others, are you staying here? Okay, and if you're staying here, then that's fine. An hour, I think, is enough. Okay, so we meet again 22-2. That's 22-1, or, yeah. Okay, enjoy your lunch. Thank you for coming, and have a good time. For those who are going and not coming back. You see, that's another thing. The ones who thought that they, I'll be here. I'll be here this afternoon. Totally convinced. Just because I decide to be here, I will be here. How do we know? But anyway, maybe we will be here.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. I mean, just the fact that we can eat is so amazing. That we have teeth, because I had to have 2 taken out. I mean, all the things that happened to me lately with the body is quite amazing.
Tooth taken out?
Yeah, 2. Now from here to here, I look like a Tibetan Ani Losang, my age. Yeah, yeah. I had a friend in Dharamsala. One day she came full of pride. And Tibetan Ani Losang could speak Tibetan, she not English, but we were very good friends, and she was maybe 30 years older than me. And she opened her mouth and said, look, only one left. Full of pride.
So she wanted to have no teeth.
I don't know. So then I thought maybe I should pay for a,
Dentures.
for a denture for her. So I took a translator to come see her to explain that I would pay for her. We go down to the dentist, to Delek, and she says, why? I'm old. And then she said, but if you want to spend the money, you can give me the money, then I buy good food. Yeah.
But how do you chew the food?
I don't know. Well, now I have to chew on this side because here I still have some. So I don't know what to do. Either it's implants or it's a good mixer. Either one.
Smoothies.
Maybe.
They're
Yeah.
very, very
That's what
helpful.
I already do.
Yes.
I started to make smoothies and I
They're
discovered
delicious, aren't they?
how good they are. Exactly.
And helpful. And
No, I was happy
and
that
healthy.
I had a good dentist who was able to take them out because it's going to be because there were 2 crowns.
I have one implant.
Yeah, and well, anyway.
It's amazing. I love it. It's my healthiest tooth.
Yeah, probably
It's a
because
zombie robot tooth.
I
but a good
have
one.
really rotten teeth. So yeah.
Yeah, cheese you can eat all the time.
Huh?
Cheese you can eat all the time. Cheese you can also eat without teeth, I think. It kind of melts, no?
Yeah.
If it's not too hard one, not too rice.
Also rice and stuff like this is okay. Also, I can still on this side. I still have until half here. So many teeth are missing.
Jeff needs another knee surgery.
Huh?
I just found out Jeff needs another knee surgery.
Oh,
He's not
really?
happy about it because we are moving next month. He won't be able to
Okay, yeah.
It sucks. We will come and go. Then we
Come
will
and
move
go.
with the knee or without the knee.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is it, Well,
Like not lethal, it's just can be fixed.
can be fixed. It takes time.
Yeah.
This is it. It just takes time.
Yeah, so that's why we need to accelerate a little bit our preparations because we won't have the whole month like we thought. Oh, it'll be so comfortable, but we have to do a lot of.
You have a month to go from here to
Yes,
there,
yes.
which is already
Like that
good.
month we won't be really.
Well, then think about these people have to move in one day or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
The persons who are moving out, they have to move in one day. There are so many days. So we are fairly
It's a good occasion to get rid of stuff. Always.
Yes, for sure. Which we are doing very diligently because just don't want to move everything. It's no use. So we are. That makes you kind of happy. Uncluttering, I think, really.
Yeah.
It's satisfactory.
Exactly. But the moment from here to this box that goes is like sometimes.
You have to let go, but we are pretty good at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we don't have so many things. I have a few things. Like I have my 2 or 3 things that I would grab when I'm running out of the apartment.
Okay.
Because of the fire or whatever, like the Buddha statue,
Yeah.
like I have them all in my bag, so in case it happens, I grab them. But there are just 2 or 3 things that I can actually grab,
That's
so
good.
that's it.
That's very good. Passport and Visa card.
Yeah.
In
I
2
guess,
days
yeah. I
world.
never thought about that. I was thinking more the Buddha statue.
Yeah, see, me more because I was
Very
living.
remarkable.
I was living in Dharamsala when we had like the fires around, and I was really thinking, what will I take? things that are light and that you need. It's passport and or Visa card. I don't know if the ATM machines still work, but to be somebody, because without papers in this world, I mean,
Especially here in India, I think it's even harder because then where do I go?
yeah, I mean, you can't say, yeah, so like that. You will reach enlightenment sooner than me because you take the Buddha with you. I take my passport.
No, now I will take both. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah. Well, because I had sleepless nights because it was very close, and so I kind of had we all had like a small backpack with water, and then I thought shoes because I only have flip flops.
So it
How
happened
can you?
that there was fire.
Yeah.
Wow.
It came down all the way to the meditators. Then it stopped.
Wow.
And there's no helicopters there, nothing. You know, so they encourage people to go with branches to kind of.
I have a colleague at work. We were going for a kind of Filmenausflug to make the food, and he was saying, "Oh, okay, I have a traumatic experience with make the food. I hope it will be okay." I'm like, "What's happened?" And he was at a ski kind of camp when he was in high school. They went, I think, the whole class or some kind of group for skiing training, and in the middle of the night he heard somebody like throwing rocks at his window. He thought that there were like friends outside, like in the middle of the winter. But there's the fruit. He thought there were people outside like trying to get him to drink because they were, in this kind of rascal. So he kind of put all the pillows on top and this, and he just kept sleeping. And suddenly somebody runs into his room and says, "You have to get out now. There was fire in the hotel." And he says that they basically jumped out of the window. The snow was very high, so they were able to still jump out of the window. And he was in his pajamas, no shoes, nothing, in minus, I don't know how much. And they were all standing there. The hotel burned down to the ground. He even showed me afterwards newspaper articles. A few people died. I think 2 people died, I believe. The fire ended up being put on by an angry employee of the hotel. Supposedly he started it, and then other people died. It's a terrible thing. And luckily, because you are in the mountains in the middle of the winter, in minus temperatures, with nothing. He took nothing with him, and there's also no helicopters, no nothing. Like there's no possibility. That's why the hotel just basically burned down and they watch it burn because there's nothing you can do. But luckily there are other hotels or some other places down there, so they could at least take shelter. They didn't freeze to death because I think if there was nothing around, they wouldn't have survived this. They don't have a roof over you. It's terrible.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Just being alive is such a miracle.
Because he said that supposedly makes the food strategy is there is like a lake which they in theory can use if fire comes to grab water, but in the winter the lake is also frozen, so there's no possibility to do anything. You can just wait, watch.
Then you enjoy your life.
And the worst part of this all, he's telling me the story and I'm organizing the event that makes the food. And he's telling me this story and I'm just